There's another buck coming by. Little buck. It's a buck. Oh, there he is right there.
It's a homecoming of sorts for Larry Weishuhn as he returns to some traditional Texas hunting grounds on Winchester Whitetail Revolution. Winchester's Whitetail Revolution is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Otis Technology, the most advanced gun care system in the world. Code Blue, perfecting the science of hunting. Winchester Repeating Arms, the guns that work. Bushnell Optics, magnify life.
These deer are rutting like crazy right here. So we're going to sit back and watch, try to see what comes across. Hopefully we'll have a chance at one.
This is the Big Woods, a whitetail haven, a short 90 minutes from Dallas in northeast Texas. Larry Weishuhn's on his way to meet Big Woods owner and old friend, Dr. Bob McFarland.
The ranch is about 7,500 acres. It's about 2/3 in the floodplain. Well, Larry, I think, started as a biologist about 5 miles from here.
Larry Weishuhn is known throughout the nation as Mr. Whitetail.
He's down, he's down.
An avid sportsman his entire life, he is an accomplished author, having written numerous magazine articles and books on hunting. Weishuhn is also a wildlife biologist whose primary focus is his beloved whitetail deer.
This one, that was really cool looking. Looked like he broke, maybe busted that pedicle a long time ago. It looked like he's putting on 2 main beams.
Before grounding himself, he crashed no less than 13 times in helicopter surveys. Now keeping his feet on terra firma, check him out in the new series, World of Whitetail, only on Versus.
During the years that I was a wildlife biologist with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, I was involved in all sorts of research. Now, it's been years since I've had the opportunity to go back to hunt in the northeastern part of the state of Texas.
I was excited that he could come back to where he sort of started his career as a wildlife biologist. And he was foolish enough to accept my invitation.
Great place, big woods, opportunity to hunt, to see some different country. Well, once we got to visit a little bit, one of the first things that Dr. McFarland did is he rolled out this big map, laid it on the table, and he points at an area, too, in particular, that's kind of down on the south side of the property called the checkerboards.
The last 2,000 acres that was still hardwood, they ended up cutting swaths through it at right angles.
You can set up on the edge of all those corners and cover a tremendous amount of country, and there's some really good deer in what they now call the checkerboard here on the Big Woods. We got up the first morning, and it is raining straight down.
Kind of a gray afternoon it is. Those others walked away the other direction.
I knew that I wanted to be out in the woods because sometimes these deer down in this part of the country, or especially in East Texas, have a tendency to really move.
There should be a buck come through there where those dogs are. Yeah, another buck. There's a doe right between them, about 100 yards past them.
people think the rut in Texas occurs in November, and in parts of the state it does.
Well, the rut's in full swing. We're in the second half of October.
In other areas, such as in South Texas, where I do a fair amount of hunting, it's generally the middle part of December and later. But you get in this northeastern corner of Texas, and the rut occurs from about the middle of October till about the 1st of November. Now, normally, in a regular type of deer season situation, you can't even hunt the rut up here unless you hunt with a bow. But fortunately, Dr. McFarland, as are several other people up in this part of the country, are involved with a management program which allows that landowner to take hunters in from about the 1st of October all the way into February. So that was one of the reasons that we even got a chance to hunt here on the Big Woods, because they are involved in that particular program. The next morning, we had visited a little bit with Heath and also Dr. McFarland, and decided probably the best thing for us to do was to set up on one of these cut lines where we could watch deer go across from one chunk of woods to the other chunk of woods. There may be another one on the trail somewhere too. It's a buck. There's some does down there. I think it's does. No, it's a buck.
They say good things come in small packages, and more big bucks can be found on small acreages. For one Illinois bow hunter, the rules of the game changed in a hurry when he found the buck of a lifetime in a place most other hunters might have overlooked. But let Mike Hanbeck tell the story.
October 27, and Jeff Powell decided to climb out of his tree stand and stalk the perimeter of his 47 acres. He hunts an old Christmas tree farm in Illinois. Perfect big buck habitat. He'd gone about 300 yards when he saw a rack under a pine tree. He kept walking past the bedded buck, knocked an arrow, slowly backed up, drew his bow and fired. The buck jumped up and ran off. Jeff found his arrow coated in blood. He waited a couple of hours and started tracking. He didn't have to go far and saw a giant rack sticking up from the grass. The monster scored 211 and 2/8 Pope and Young. Wow, a tremendous animal. Shot on the ground with a bow, that's some accomplishment, man. Jeff's hunt goes to prove that you don't need 1,000 acres or even 100 to kill a big buck these days. If you hunt hard and if you hunt smart, 47 acres in the right spot will do just fine. For more great big buck action, check us out on the web at versuscountry.com.
There may be another one on the trail somewhere too. It's a buck. Yeah, it's a nice little 8-point. Look like about a 2-year-old. Good makeable shot right there, about 110 yards. Oh man, I wish that were a big one. The problem was the woods are so dense. Some of these have been cut over in years past, and the trees, they're big trees there, but they're also a tremendous amount of small trees, so you really can't see any distance. You gotta learn how to judge these animals quickly. I mean, they're not going to give you but about 2 or 3 seconds to see them. If you're lucky, they'll give you another second or 2 just to look at them. But the moment you see them, you better make up your mind, especially in this situation. I love to rattle for blacktail bucks. To me, there is no greater thrill than to hit the horns together and look up, and by golly, here comes a buck. The one thing that I didn't count on was a wind that was blowing 30, 40 miles an hour, but I had to try anyway. So we decided really probably one of the things we need to try to do is to utilize a decoy, maybe one with a bobbin head and a bobbin tail that I've used in the past. So we set it up hoping that at the worst that deer would come out, look, and at least provide us an opportunity for us to get a good look at him. We got in one evening and visited with Dr. McFarland about the property, and he suggested another area that we had not been into. It's really kind of a sandy area, lots of tall grass, lots of tall weeds. And normally I like to hunt on the ground where I can see. And if I'm down here and the grass is this tall and I can't see over it from sitting there on the ground, I may find a spot that's a little bit taller, and these tripods work great for that. Heath helped me set up this tripod, and I got up in it and, you know, looking for one particular buck. Well, as soon as I crawled up in this tripod, I mean, the wind was blowing 30 miles an hour. Just before it got dark, actually, it slowed down to about probably 20 miles an hour. And I happened to glance over to my left, and here comes this buck.
I'm not sure he's a shitter, though.
And he just kind of trailed along. He finally went down there and made a scrape and then disappeared in the tall grass. And by then, it was all over with. It was too dark to see anymore for that evening. With the wind blowing as it did, and as it was continuing to do, I saw no reason to continue sitting on the edge of some of that open country. So we got back in the woods and started doing some scouting.
There's all kinds of deer food in here. Got all these little weeds coming up, these little vines. Some poison sumac.
What I was looking for was kind of a secluded area.
I really have a good feeling about this clear opening right here. This little opening right in the middle of all these thick woods. Got really thick stuff over there. All kinds of good food back in there. And it's kind of a secluded area. There's no road through here, so there's no traffic at all. The wind is just absolutely perfect for us, coming kind of out of the north. Set up over here somewhere. God, this is a good setup right here. This is where we're going to spend the rest of our hunt. Talk about in-your-face deer. Little buck was right there. I mean, I almost could have shot him from the hip. He was so close. Just wish he could have been a little bit bigger. But it's amazing. These bucks are in the rut right now. They're not paying a whole lot of attention. We're sitting in a relatively open, got a good background. But those bucks have got one thing on their mind right now. Amazing, even with this little one. I just need to see one more that's a little bit bigger.
One of the things that you have to do, you have to be able to be very quick on the trigger, if you will, because a buck comes running out and there's about 20 yards in which you've got an opportunity. That is a slight window of opportunity to see that deer, evaluate that deer, estimate the distance, and before he gets here, make the shot.
It's a buck. It's a buck. He's going to come out. He's got at least 4 or 5 points. He's not real big. He's not real big, but he's not real small either. He'll come out right there. Come on from behind there. When he steps out from behind there.
Winchester's Whitetail Revolution is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Otis Technology, the most advanced gun care system in the world. Code Blue, perfecting the science of hunting. Winchester Repeating Arms, the guns that work. Bushnell Optics, magnify life. Larry Weishuhn finally has a buck in his sights here on the Trinity River Ranch in Northeast Texas. But can he close the deal?
Boy, he didn't act like he was hit at all. Oh no. But I better go look. Better look. The hold looked good. I can't believe it. No doubt, I'm bound to have missed. That old big bullet would have torn a huge hole in that animal at that distance even. There's been a good blood trail, but there's nothing there. As much as I hate to admit it, I missed.
I mean, sometimes it happens, and it did with me. I happened to be looking back this way, had just seen a deer behind me, and I look back, and out comes the doe, and then here comes this buck, and I am madly trying to get set up. It's getting late in the afternoon. He's a long way out there, about 200 yards. I'm trying to not look through the binocs, because I know if I do look through the binocs very long, he's going to be across. So I hurry up and get the pistol all set up on the shooting sticks. I look, he picks up his head. I can tell, yes, he's about wide as his ears, but I notice he's got a big split actually up here. He looked like a big 4-point on this side with a split on this other side, and he certainly looked like he was an older buck.
The deer disappears behind a bunch of trees. I get all set up, and just as he comes out, there's just a couple of heartbeats in which to make the shot. I cock the hammer, pull the trigger, and the deer runs off.
And just as I look back, here comes a buck out. I've got to make a decision.
Technology makes longer shooting possible. The question is, where does marksmanship end and sportsmanship begin?
Long-range sniper shooting, it's become the rage. You know, a lot of it I think has to do with the success that the military has had with long-range sniping, and of course that's a wonderful application right there.
Mr. Spalmer, as I recall, the last caliber I saw you shoot, had the capabilities of reaching out there at least 500-600 yards with the rifle that you were shooting.
And the problem is defining what's long-range shooting. For an archer, 50 yards is long range. For someone with a muzzleloader, 250 yards is a long range. Well, what happens when you get a super-duper Magnum that can shoot reasonably out to 600-700 yards and accurately?
We've got the capabilities now in terms of firearms, in terms of optics, in terms of ammunition. It's never been better.
It's not a challenge to see how far away you can shoot an animal. Your job is to make a clean kill as quickly and humanely as you can.
And as people become more familiar with their particular firearm, spend more time in the field practicing at long range, there's no reason not to take that long range shot.
And it really is remarkable what you can do with a specially tuned rifle and ammunition and a really good scope. But when you try to translate that to deer hunting, I think, or elk hunting or anything else, I think you're really getting into some hot water here.
In the immortal words of Dirty Harry, a man's got to know his limitations, and hunters need to know theirs.
Get up early the next morning, get set up the decoy about 50 yards out there in front of us. The sun starts bringing light. It's getting lighter. There's deer moving down below us. Looks like does, and there's a little buck or two that runs by. You just have a feeling that something is about to happen. Straight ahead, nothing, and kind of look back. And just as I look back, here comes a buck out, and I can immediately see he's got at least 8 points. He is walking kind of quartering to us.
Good buck.
And he comes out, there's about 2 heartbeats of a second before this deer is going to disappear. I've got to make a decision.
He's down. He's down. He's down. Nice buck. Really nice East Texas deer. Look like he's got 8 points. I'm not gonna need that anymore. We have seen so many bucks. Absolutely a fabulous place. I mean, but they're in the rut. They're chasing like crazy, and you'd better be prepared when they come across. They're not giving you a whole lot of time.
This one came into the horns, but I think he was just, I'm not sure whether he actually came to the rattling horns or whether he just happened to be running a doe across here and stopped long enough where I could get him. But a beautiful deer, look at that. You know, these woods are just filled with this kind of deer right here, and even bigger. He will definitely take him. I'll tell you, I was tickled to death with him. In coming to this property, it reminded me so much of hunting at home where I grew up, kind of just west of Houston away, that let me tell you something, growing up, had I seen a deer the size that I shot here on Big Woods, I'd have walked 2 miles barefooted over nothing but prickly pear to get an opportunity to have a buck like that. So that's what I was thinking of. Here's this absolute great deer, and he's down. I finally got a good East Texas deer.